HOA Karen destroyed my wedding gazebo. Unaware, my fiancé's the district attorney. The perfect wedding nightmare. Know that moment when your perfect day becomes your worst nightmare. Well, buckle up, because what happened to me 3 days before my wedding will make your blood boil. I'm Sarah, and this is the story of how one HOA Karen tried to destroy my dream wedding, completely unaware that she was messing with the wrong couple. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see karma in its most beautiful form. The dream setup. Let me paint you a picture. After 2 years of planning, my fiancé Michael and I had everything perfect for our backyard wedding. We'd spent months designing and building a gorgeous white gazebo in our backyard, completely within our property lines, completely legal and absolutely stunning. This wasn't just any structure. It was handcrafted with Victorian details, surrounded by my grandmother's heirloom roses, and positioned perfectly to catch the sunset during our ceremony. Our guests were flying in from across the country. The caterer was confirmed, and my dress was hanging in the closet, waiting for the most important day of my life. Enter the HOA Taraboot, apparently our HOA president. Let's call her Karen because that's literally her name. Had other plans. 3 days before our wedding, I wake up to the sound of chainsaws and bulldozers in my backyard. I rush outside in my pajamas to find Karen directing a demolition crew, systematically destroying my wedding gazebo while wearing the most smug expression I've ever seen. "Excuse me, what the hell are you doing?" I screamed, but Karen just waved a piece of paper in my face. "Unauthorized structure," she announced with that fake, sweet voice, all HOA Karen's master. "You never got approval from the architectural committee. It's coming down, and you're paying the removal fees." The devastating discovery. I grabbed that paper, and my heart sank. Somehow, Karen had convinced the HOA board to classify my gazebo as an unpermanent structure that violated some obscure bylaw about visual harmony in the neighborhood. The demolition order was dated that morning, and she'd scheduled it specifically to cause maximum damage to my wedding plans. But here's where it gets worse. Karen wasn't done. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Maybe next time you'll think twice before trying to show off with your fancy little princess wedding. Some of us have property values to protect." Then she actually smiled while her demolition crew reduced months of my work to a pile of splinters. The fiancé's calm response when Michael came home from work that evening and saw the destruction. I expected him to explode. Instead, he got eerily calm. You know, that dangerous kind of calm that makes smart people very, very nervous. He surveyed the damage, took photos of everything, and then asked me to gather every single piece of HOA correspondence we'd ever received. I think it's time Karen learned exactly who she's been messing with now. I should mention that Michael works downtown in a big government building, but he's always been pretty vague about his exact job title. I knew he was important, but honestly, I was too busy with wedding planning to ask for details. The wedding day miracle here. Where the story takes a turn that still gives me chills. Our wedding was supposed to be ruined, right? Wrong. Michael made a few phone calls, and suddenly we had the most incredible backup plan. The mayor personally offered us the city's historic rose garden. The police chief provided security detail, and somehow every vendor extended their services for free. When I asked Michael how he managed all this, he just winked and said, "Professional courtesy, the courtroom revelation." But the real fireworks started the following Monday. Karen had filed a complaint against us for destruction of HOA property, claiming that the dirt where our gazebo stood somehow belonged to the association. That's when Michael suggested we handle this officially. Walking into that courtroom, Karen was still acting like the queen of the neighborhood, bragging to anyone who'd listen about how she'd put that entitled bride in her place. She strutted up to the defendant's table like she owned the building. The epic climax, then the judge entered, and Karen's face went sheet white, because sitting behind that bench was my new husband's boss, and Michael wasn't just some government worker. He was the district attorney's lead prosecutor, specializing in property fraud and HOA corruption cases. "Your Honor," Michael announced as he stood up, "I'd like to present evidence of systematic HOA abuse, illegal property destruction, and what appears to be several violations of state housing discrimination laws." He'd spent our honeymoon week building a case that would make any lawyer weep with joy. Karen tried to interrupt, but the judge, who'd apparently been following Michael's HOA corruption investigations for months, wasn't having it. "Ma'am, I suggest you remain quiet and consider retaining legal counsel immediately." The sweet justice what followed was the most beautiful legal takedown I've ever witnessed. Michael presented evidence that Karen had been systematically targeting homeowners she personally disliked, using fabricated violations and selective enforcement. The illegal demolition of our gazebo was just the final piece of a pattern that had been building for years. The judge didn't just rule in our favor. She ordered the HOA to pay damages, rebuild our gazebo to exact specifications, and personally sanctioned Karen for abuse of her position. But the real kicker, Michael's investigation led to Karen being criminally charged with property destruction and corruption. The perfect ending. 6 months later, we had our dream vow renewal ceremony in our newly rebuilt gazebo, even more beautiful than the original. Karen, well, let's just say she's no longer in a position to terrorize anyone's wedding plans, and our neighborhood has never been more peaceful. The moral of the story: never mess with someone's wedding day, especially when you don't know who you're really dealing with. Sometimes karma needs a little help from the justice system, and my husband was more than happy to provide it. If this story got your blood pumping, smash that like button and subscribe for more HOA justice stories that'll make you cheer. Have you ever dealt with an HOA Karen who bit off more than they could chew? Drop your stories in the comments below, and remember, sometimes the quiet ones are the ones you should worry about most. Trust me on that one.